spoke in a previous audio about parents who use emotional manipulation in order to keep the children close to them due to a deficiency in their life. So I want to go ahead and elaborate a little bit more and give you a scenario so you can visualize what I'm talking about for those of you who don't fully understand. These are fictional people, but the situation has been real, and I've come across it with a lot of people. Now, as you may already know, if you haven't tuned into my lives, it's obvious that I'm a middle-aged woman. I'm in an age group now where a lot of my peers have either started families, people have grown up in the family, or if they're alone, they're in another stage of life. But this is in reference to people who have families. And what it is that we're at an age group now where we have to think about what's going to happen when we can't fully function for ourselves. Are we set up to be taken care of not only financially, but emotionally as well? Some of us who have had fractured relationships with children, we're trying to reconnect. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. It could be a rocky road. I'm very familiar with that. But you have to keep trying because you know at the end of the day, you're going to need them. You're going to need your children. You're going to need certain family members if you don't have children and you played a role in their upbringing. You're going to need them at some point. And you don't want them to harbor any negative feelings in their heart in regards to something that you may have done or maybe a misunderstanding. You want to clear the air. And we're in this age group now. We're trying to keep the house clean. Those of us who are in our age group mentally, because there's some of us that still think we're 20 years old and just refuse to accept the fact that we're getting older. I made reference to biology and the animals, and that's true. I don't know what school system that you may be in, but I truly believe that the federal government needs to step in regards to curriculum for schools. I think that they should establish that certain courses are be required for graduation no matter where you live, and I think one of them is biology. Now, it's been a while since I sat in a classroom as far as the public school system is concerned. It's been a while since either one of my children have. So there are constant changes. But it is evident when you see a person get older, especially in my age group, I can look and tell by the way that they act in their families whether or not they did well in school. I can see it by the way they behave, by the way they interact. And the way some people have attitudes towards sex, towards biology, towards health, it's evident they didn't take biology class. It's evident. Because they are making the worst piss poor decisions. Having 8, 9, 10 kids, you don't even work steady. You don't have a relationship with the baby's mother. If you're not married, you have no intention to get married, but you're steady trying to repopulate the earth. Because some fool somewhere who was out of his mind or her mind or whoever it was 20, 30 years ago said it is best to take the Bible out of context, be fruitful and multiply. That's not being fruitful, that's being foolish. Then you have some people that do not really know how the reproductive system works, and they grow up and they start having babies and all kind of physical problems with the reproductive organs, diseases and everything else, and they don't understand why, because they didn't go to biology class. They didn't go to sex ed class. Nobody explained it to them. So they're out here, people. They're out here. So then they become middle-aged and they start to look around and think that they should have had a little bit more out of life because of their poor choices that they made with their health in regards to their sexual habits, in regards to their physical habits. It's catching up with them. And they have a little less energy and a little more time to pay attention. That's what happens when you get older. You get a little less energy physically, but you get more time mentally to pay attention to what's going on. And, it could be a double-edged sword sometimes. So let's just say that Carol, and I'm just throwing a name out there because I don't know anybody personally named Carol in the situation. Carol's a middle-aged single parent who raised 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, or 2 girls and a boy, whatever the gender you choose, that's fine. She wrestled back and forth with the fathers of the children because there's more than one father. She wrestled back and forth with the fathers of the children to try to raise the kids, probably had to go to court a few times. that type of situation. One of the baby's fathers probably tried to come into the picture. She probably tried to give it a second chance, and that didn't work out. All of this stuff, she really struggled, but in the meantime, she went from place to place to place to try to make sure she takes care of the kids, and eventually the kids get grown. By the time they get grown, Carol decides, okay, you know what, I'm going to go back to school and get myself a degree in XYZ, or I'm going to get some training in XYZ and become XYZ. And she does, and now she's financially set. Well, all of a sudden, her grown children are going through the same thing that she went through. It's a painful thing to see your child go through the same thing you went through, and you cannot reach them. I'm very familiar with that. But I guess that's a bit of karma. Call it whatever you'd like. See, when people go through a certain age, between the ages, I want to say 18 and 24 or 25, something like that, maybe 30, I want to say between 18 and 30, okay? The young people are kind of going through this, I need to find myself, period. You know, they're hustling. You know, they're doing everything under the sun. They're putting things together to try to build a life for themselves. So by the time they reach our age, they be like, okay, I've got some experience under my belt. I'm secure. That's the effort. And it's a psychological thing. It has nothing to do with you as a parent. You can't stunt it. And see, that goes back to what I say. You know, Carol is seeing her children, every single one of them going through some kind of struggle, be it financially, emotionally, or physically. And they're going through the same struggles that she went through. And the problem is that even though Carol successfully raised her children, the problem is that while she was raising her children, the whole time she was raising them strictly in survival mode. There weren't any lessons taught. The lessons that were taught was how to make it, yes, how to go to school and how to do things like that. But as far as like how to take care of your body, how to deal with people, how to communicate, those things were not taught to her children because they were not taught to her. Carol was raised up in a household where people, all they did was just, they were in this cycle like robots, you know, work and pay bills and go to church on Sunday, that type of thing. But there was no real knowledge that was shared in regards to how to conduct yourself, your spiritual connection, you know, the best way to take care of your body, because a lot of people in Carol's family, you know, they have ailments and everything else. And Carol has a couple of issues, but she's not following the instructions to the letter. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I actually have talked about this in previous audios and mentioned it in a Sunday Live, so you might want to go through the playlist about that. So now she's got to sit back and watch her children go through all this, and then when they get into a pickle, they're calling and they're bending her ear, pouring this negative energy into her. And there's nothing she can say because, see, she was a part of that. So what do? First of all, you got to understand that you cannot get into anybody's head, and I've said this numerous times, over and over and over again. You cannot get into somebody's head, and a lot of you all agree with that, but when it comes to your kids, it's a different story. It's not a different set of rules when it comes to people. It's not. They're your children, and they came out of you, and you may hear these sayings in regards to other people, but it applies to them, it applies to you as well. They have their own thought processes as how they want to deal with things. Excuse me, I'm stumbling in my words. And you're not going to turn around and tell your grown daughter or your grown son, you can offer advice, but you can't turn around and put their burden on your back and edge them into thinking the way you want them to think. And that's what a lot of you parents are doing. And what's happening is that you are now getting older. You are either middle-aged or you're a senior, and you don't understand how that negative energy is all of a sudden is turning against you and manifesting itself in the form of a condition. All of a sudden you got pressure problems, sugar problems, arthritis, and everything else. And these are problems that didn't exist before you meddled into your kid's business. And don't get me wrong, the intention is good. Sometimes we do the wrong things for the right reason. And you don't want them to go through what you went through, but you know, for some of them, they're going to have to. Or maybe they won't go through it. Maybe they'll catch themselves before they reach that point. You don't know. And it's the uncertainty that's causing the stress. It's not the fact that they're going through it. Yes, that plays a part of it. But the fact that you no longer have control as to what direction that situation is going into, that's what it boils down to. And I don't care what anybody says. Search yourself. Search yourself for the real reason why you are having sleepless nights over your grown children's situation that they created. Because I went through that. I went through the stress of having sleepless nights and appetite and, weight fluctuation, worrying about my children's situation when they went through something. And just because they weren't witness to it, and just because I didn't say anything to anybody about it, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And that's another thing we as humans need to get out of the business of. Don't assume that somebody didn't go through suffering behind closed doors just because you weren't witness to it. All of a sudden, because you were witness to it, it happened. That's bullshit. You need to stop that. So you have to accept the fact that these children have grown up. They are living lives of their own. They don't grow up so they could turn around and be at your beck and call. It makes me wonder who the parent and who the child is. Because if the child took the time to go off on their own and make a life for themselves, but still show you respect and not up under you, but you're up under them, it makes me wonder who the parent and who the child is. Because it seems like the child's a little bit more mature than you are. I'm saying this to somebody today. There's a certain life cycle that we go through. It doesn't matter if you have a physical situation, a financial situation, a mental situation. It doesn't matter. Your body's going to continue to grow and mature. And it's not going to stop because that's the life cycle. Respect nature. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Have a great day.